like anything that hits an object at very high speed, it'll make a hole basically. So it'll make a crater on the moon, and we're really excited about that actually because there are millions of craters on the moon that have happened over 4.5 billion years. But we can watch this one because I'm an investigator on a lunar reconnaissance orbiter, which is a spacecraft in orbit around the planet, and we're hoping to be able to actually see and watch the crater form and see the ejecta and understand its composition. So actually, it's a very exciting potential opportunity for us.
I'm glad there's a bright side. I was going to ask you about the problem of space junk, though, which I suppose it's part of. How big an issue is that? We've been sending objects into space for years now. Has enough been done to clean up after ourselves?
Well, it's really a big problem. You know, I hate to say it, but we're human beings, and, you know, we look at the oceans as, you know, the endless empire, you know, just we can dump anything there, it'll just go away and disappear, and it does. But I've been to the bottom of the ocean in deep sea submersibles a number of times, and, you know, off the west coast of the United States, you actually see pollution on the floor. We were diving in the bottom one time, and there was a book. Open it up, it was a Sears catalog. I mean, you know, there's just stuff all over the place. It's very bad pollution. The same is true in space. We see space as basically this, oh, it's just endless, okay? And so we can put anything up there and dump it, but that's not the case at all. It's becoming a problem, particularly as we have more and more satellites in low Earth orbit with the space stations, the Chinese, the International Space Station, et cetera. It's a problem, a big problem.
So how concerned should we be that next time perhaps an object might crash into Earth rather than the moon?
Well, they do, and fortunately we have an atmosphere. It's a fairly dense atmosphere, so actually they burn up in the atmosphere. That's why we see shooting stars coming in at night sometimes, because those are little projectiles coming in. The good news is that the atmosphere is thick enough that it'll actually break up most of these things, like that rocket, if it came into the Earth, it would burn up largely. And maybe just be little tiny pieces, and because, you know, 2/3 of the surface of the Earth is ocean, it would just fall into the ocean. So it's not that much of a problem. What we need to worry about are the really big things that are coming in, you know, things like that extinguish the dinosaurs and things like that. And, you know, people are working on that one.
Well, this issue for SpaceX comes after China complained that its space station was forced to avoid collisions with satellites launched by Elon Musk. Do you think there needs to be regulation on private companies operating in space?
Well, that's a very good point, and I think a lot more emphasis needs to be put on looking at tracking these pieces of debris and these new spacecraft that are going up. The good news is for things like SpaceX and commercial companies, we actually know what they are, we know where they are, and we can track them and then move the space station to avoid them. The bad news is that, you know, many countries, including the United States, including China, including Russia, have done anti-satellite experiments in space where they blow up another spacecraft. That creates millions of little pieces that are floating around. That's the biggest danger. It's all dangerous, but these little pieces are the big dangers. So international communications and agreements to moderate this is really, really important, and I hope that's where we'll be heading in the future.